Welcome back to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today's episode is a powerful one. We're sitting down with Fox, an EMTA and firefighter who started his journey in Michigan and now serves a community in Georgia. His story begins at just 18 months old when he went into cardiac arrest and became septic. That early brush with death lit a fire in him that never went out. From fire trucks to trauma calls, Fox has been showing up for others since 2013. We talk about the highs and lows, losing his grandma during medic school, living with ADHD, and coping with PTSD without traditional therapy. He opens up about the impact of suicide in the first responder world, his future goals with the tactical EMS and SWAT, and how he finds peace in unexpected places like Xbox and family dinners. This episode is real, it's raw, and it's a reminder that behind every uniform is a human being carrying stories, scars, and strength. Welcome, Fox.
You're listening to 8158 Stories of Sacrifice, where we honor the bravery of the first responders and the families who stand behind them. Real people, real stories, real heroes. This is 8158. Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Today's guest, we have Fox. He is fire at EMS, and he has a profound story to tell you guys. Hope you enjoy, and hopefully you'll get something out of this story. How you doing, Fox?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself, Franklin?
Uh, it could be better, could be worse. We had some pretty nasty storms come through here. We had some tornadoes rip through southern Kentucky, so it was pretty
Ah,
bad. We lost a
um,
firefighter in London, so
yeah.
unfortunately,
Well,
um,
I'm
but
glad you and your family are safe.
yeah, we got the major thunderstorms and all the rain, but we were about an hour north of where the epicenter was from the tornado, so that's fortunate. Unfortunately, we did lose a firefighter, so that really breaks our heart. So,
Yeah, it does.
and in opening up, we're gonna go ahead and get started. You've been around medical and since you were a kid, so can you take us back to that 18-month-old experience and how it shaped you in your journey into EMS and your fire service?
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, so at 18 months old, I was a pediatric cardiac arrest. I had a double ear infection that turned into sepsis and took me out from there. Uh, from what I've been told, they had police, fire, and EMS show up because of the severity of the call, and I got worked from where I lived up in Michigan at the time and took him to the closest NICU, which was about 12 miles away.
Okay.
It was because of the firefighters and EMS up there that I'm still around today to actually talk and do what I do.
So, I mean, at 18 months old, you're still pretty young. How did you
Mhm.
find out about this experience?
When I was about 10 or so, that's when my parents told me about what had happened.
Okay.
Um, at that time, my mom was a nurse, so I had spent a lot of the time in the cardiac tower because that was where she went to specialize in, which is actually after I went into the cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
So, because of that, both of us had gone into medicine.
That's that's pretty awesome. I mean, it's unfortunate that you had to go through such an ordeal, but yet, there is a silver lining and all that, that you guys had both decided to take that opportunity and make something of it, which is amazing. Takes a lot of courage.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so you talked about your mom was a nurse, and you did police explorers and civil air patrol. What made fire EMS feel like the right thing for you?
So when I was in high school, going through this police explorers and civil air patrol, I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I fit in the police department culture at that time. And after I left that, joined civil air patrol, I got into the culture of that, learning everything that I had to know for search and rescue. And then I tried to I did try to join into the military, but that didn't pan out at all. So when I got back up to the city I was working in, I went over to one of the volunteer fire departments and I was talking to a lieutenant up there who was actually now a captain. And when we were talking, I told him about what had happened, and he handed me a application at that point and said I wanted him by Friday. And after that,
Wow,
that's how I started getting the ball rolling.
that's pretty fast. So what was that experience like in the police explorers? Why you didn't feel like you fit into that?
Uh, just just the mindset at that time.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, have to think about it this way too. This is this was a bunch of kids anywhere from 14 to 20 years old trying to get their way into public safety.
Okay. And the civil air patrol, that just didn't work out for you.
I actually do plan on going back in the Civil Air Patrol to help out, what had, especially after all the hurricanes that came through where I live currently. Uh, Having them come out and actually help with relief efforts actually helped us out in the long run.
Right.
So,
Yeah, they are a very valuable asset to our communities, and they definitely, excuse me, we definitely need them quite a bit.
oh yeah.
So we're going to go ahead and go into mental health and coping with that mental health. Uh, the work you do is so insane.
For me, it's been a bunch of nightmares. My I don't really sleep well at all. Um, I'll go back
Okay.
to calls that I've run that I'd much rather forget. Um, I've had calls. I've grown up in Michigan. We've had a bunch of gang shootings and all that, and having to see it almost day in day out when working on the ambulance, that kind of takes a toll on you.
Right.
And then with the opioid epidemic that we had and that we're still currently facing, uh, having to see so many so many people that at the time were my age or just a little bit older than me going through this. It kind of shook me, but
Yeah, I can imagine those are pretty traumatizing. Um, my cousin was a sheriff's deputy down there in Michigan. Actually, I should say up there because we're in Kentucky. So he was in southern Michigan, Hillsdale County. I don't know if you know where that's at.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, he was a 20-year veteran, and he worked for the sheriff's department for 12 years while he was in the guards as a jailer. And when he retired, he came back to the sheriff's department after 20 years, and about a year and a half or so, he was killed in the line of duty as a road deputy, which is pretty hard because Hillsdale County is not one of those counties you would expect that kind of stuff to happen,
Yeah.
especially to him because he was such an impactful, amazing person that he would just be there to help anybody. Uh, so, I lived in Michigan for 6 months. Wasn't too thrilled about it, so I moved down to Ohio for, it was closer to the job. But uh,
Hmm.
my ex-wife and I moved from Montana. So, but my family's from Michigan, so so we
Okay.
know the area. I used to work for Menards Distribution Center in Holiday City, so I pretty much know all of the Menards stores in Michigan, Ohio,
Mhm.
Indiana, all the areas. So it's kind of crazy that we're kind of tied in that way.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I can understand Detroit. I was always unnerved going into Detroit, having to go through there, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to have to drive through here.
Like any of the big cities going up I-75.
Yeah, 94, I-75, anywhere. I didn't want to go, but
Yeah.
unfortunately,
We actually called 75 Heroin Highway where I was at.
oh my gosh. What part of Michigan was that?
Uh, I was in mid Michigan,
Mid. Okay.
so yeah. Um,
I know.
I
I know where.
worked I worked in Bay County for fire, and then Saginaw County mostly for EMS.
Okay.
But I also had worked in multiple different areas within that area as well.
Yeah. I know exactly where those places are.
Hmm.
Uh, Kind of off the subject. Have you ever heard of healingthehero.org?
That I have not actually.
Um, my suggestion to you is to Google healingthehero.org, and they can help you for free. And they are
Hmm.
amazing people. We just interviewed the president of that organization. Amazing guy. He's great. He's a combat veteran. He was also a sheriff's deputy down in Florida, and he runs that program. And they come up with some really neat techniques that could help you with your issues and any
Hmm.
problems that you might have. Uh, Myself, I haven't been in combat. I've never served in the military. I've never done any kind of civil service. I just dealt with childhood traumas, and he kind of offered me to come on there and to talk with him about trying to help me with my panic attacks. And
Hmm.
it's all free and anonymous. So if
Okay.
you're worried about your department, trying to know about anything that you're doing, they will not tell them because they're not obligated.
All right. Yeah, I'll take a look into
So,
them.
yeah, I would encourage you to look up healingtheheroes.org, and you can ask for Dan Jarvis and talk to him. He's an amazing guy. He's a good person. They can help you out, and he tells us, don't take my word for it, just try it. They've helped out a lot of first responders. They've helped out a lot of combat veterans. So I would encourage you to go ahead and do the same. So if you got a pen and paper, write that down.
All right.
Moving on to our next question. You've shared that therapy isn't your go-to, but your wife's mom, also a nurse, has been a big support. How important has that informal support system been for you in your mental health?
So having family that's in the medical field has actually helped me a lot. Uh, I mean, I know my mom's only a phone call away. Uh, her mom only lives a couple houses down from where we are. So if I have a very rough shift and I just want to just go and vent, and I know that she's at home, her and I will talk for a couple hours or so just to get everything off that's been going on throughout the shift, both on the engine and on the ambulance.
Okay.
Uh, it has actually helped take a lot of weight off my shoulders
Now, do you go into
because
detail about what you guys do, or do you just kind of like give a brief overview? How does that conversation come about?
some of the conversations do involve in depth talking about what had happened, but it's more of because she used to work in the ER, so a lot of the stuff that I would bring in, she would see. So she would know exactly what had gone on most of the time that I had brought in. So she had more of an idea of what had happened, what I had to see and everything, and what I had to do.
Right. So she had a pretty good understanding, basically, of the traumas that you have had to live through
Hmm.
personally because she's seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
Now, is that both your wife and your mother-in-law?
Uh, my mother-in-law, she's the one that I talk to more about what I what I gone through. My wife, not so much. I'll give her some details, but I won't give her everything. And then my mom is the same way. I'll talk to her about everything that I've gone through
Okay.
and everything that we did during that shift.
And how does that normally make you feel after you have talked to them about your situations? Does it make you feel better? Does it ease a lot of the pain that has gone through your heart and your mind with all these situations?
It actually does help out a lot. It feels most of the time it feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders and that I feel lighter. But even then, there are some things that even if I talk about it, it's it's still going to weigh heavily on my mind. And it's still going to weigh heavily on my heart.
Right. Yeah, those compounding traumas often they stick with you and they don't go away very easy. We can totally understand with that, especially myself. I mean, I have a lot of childhood compounding traumas that I have to live with, and they still haven't gone away. Even talking about them, it's hard, but um, you know, the older I get, the more stronger I get, and the more understanding you gain, the better
Mhm.
off that you become. And it does help to talk about it, especially the older you get. They just kind of fade out.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, and you're still fairly young, so that's why I recommended going to healingthehero.org, and they could probably help you quite a bit. And even like even after the initial traumas and stuff that you've dealt with, anything afterwards, you can always get a hold of them, and they can help you through that too.
Okay.
Not saying that this is a cure all, but they are a free organization that will help you.
Okay.
And I totally believe this guy and what he's doing. They're doing it for absolutely nothing. They are getting studies done by universities like UNLV and other universities in California and stuff like that. So uh, this is huge. Whatever they're doing, it is huge. So from my heart to yours, I would seriously consider reaching out to them. Um, our next question, we're going to go ahead and go into a lot of first responders game or do other hobbies to decompress. What is it about gaming or spending time with family that helps you reset?
So with the gaming portion, it's more of a I can shut my brain off most of the time, but it's more of a way that I can just shut everything down, not have to focus on anything much except for what's going on the TV. And that actually transitioned into about 2020. I got into cosplay,
Okay.
so I had started going into like the division, the division cosplays and all that. Form a community around that. Uh, and then that's been going till up until recently.
Okay.
Uh, and then spending time with the family, that actually just helps me decompress a lot most of the time. I mean, we'll go out for walks. Well, go out to go out to for date nights and everything. Try to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Try to go out into the country,
All right.
go out exploring, urbexing.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Uh, so for our listeners who don't know, I mean, I know what cosplay is, but for our listeners who don't know what cosplay is, can you explain what that is for us?
So cosplay is basically getting dressed up as a character from a video game, book, movie, uh, or an original character from those types of things. Kind of like the Star Trek conventions back in the 80s, the
Hmm.
90s, going up till today. Uh, Dragon Con, one of the biggest ones that I've gone to was Anime Weekend Atlanta. Mm,
Okay,
That was that was last year. Uh,
that's pretty awesome.
mhm. I used
Uh,
to I would
Yeah,
make
go ahead.
cosplay content. I would make cosplay content on TikTok at the time.
Okay,
Uh, Create storylines for my character. So,
that's pretty awesome. Uh, if I was to ever do cosplay, which I'd never done as of yet, but if I had, it would either be Darth Vader or the Mandalorian.
Star
As
Wars.
you can see, I am a sci-fi freak. I love Star Trek
Mhm.
and Star Wars, and my entire room has sci-fi stuff in it, except for my racing stuff because I like race cars. But
Mhm.
I do love Star Wars. I grew up watching Star Wars, and it pretty much came out when I was born. Actually, it came out 2 months before I was born. So, so
Ah,
I was raised around Star Wars. I loved it, and so I mean, my entire room has Star Wars stuff in it, as you can see. I mean, you can see probably Darth Vader and the Mandalorian back there, and
yep.
pictures. I mean, call it what you will. I'm a geek, whatever, you know.
Hey, it's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah.
I
Plus, I
mean,
like westerns too. So,
can't go wrong with that. Especially the Duke.
yeah, I love the Duke. We actually have a pit bull we named Duke. So, yeah, Duke, the Duke, John Wayne, he was one of our favorite actors, oh, mine favorite actors, and Clint Eastwood. So, yeah, but we have a pit bull, and I named him Duke.
Ah, yeah,
That's pretty
I've
awesome.
got two. I've got two cats right now, which is one of the reasons why I was asking if you could hear clanging in the background because they
Are
like
they
playing
playing?
with their bowls when they're empty.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But
Cats will be cats.
cats will be cats.
Uh, so moving on, you lost a friend to suicide, and that same day, Brandon Sykes was killed in the line of duty. How did that day affect your outlook on life and your mental health, as well as the brotherhood in this field?
So the day that we buried one of my friends, it was a hard day because we had just left the funeral and everybody was talking to everybody. Get home,
Get home
and then
and
a couple hours later, find out over the news that we lost another one of our own, which is in close proximity to us. I had run into him multiple times at different hospitals. And I was working one of the ambulances out here, so it's not like it was a person that we didn't know. It was a person that I talked to from time to time at the hospital when they would show up. And the brother that we lost, he was actually in the station that was adjacent to ours. So a couple shifts a month, we would all get together and train together. Whenever we would get a fire, their engine was right there with ours. So 99% of the fires that I've worked, he was on there with me. I do have to
So,
say that after after the funeral, the atmosphere was different, but we all we all were there for each other.
so you wouldn't say that Brandon was really close, but he was still a brother in your field, and you obviously had contact with him multiple times.
Yeah,
I imagine that definitely affected you quite a bit.
yeah,
Sounds like he was an amazing person.
they both were.
Yeah. Uh, do you know what caused your friend to want to commit suicide?
That I am not sure.
there was no letters or anything like that left.
No.
Well, I'm definitely heartbroken and just, I mean, I'm deeply saddened by the impact that this has had on you. It is unfortunate that a brother and a friend had to feel like they had to commit suicide, and I just, my heart goes out to you for that, and there's just no words that could, you know, make somebody feel better about that situation. It's never a good situation,
No.
but I
It never
truly am
is.
sorry about your loss.
I appreciate it.
Um, with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to memorable calls in your field experience to kind of lighten up. Hopefully, it'll lighten up the mood a little bit. Maybe it won't. I don't know. Uh, since starting in 2013, you've surely seen a lot. So, what are one of the two calls that have stuck with you, either because they were meaningful or really tough to process?
Okay. So my very first call was a very humbling experience. I had just gotten my license at the time for medicine as an EMR up in Michigan, and then tones dropped for a cardiac arrest. We get on scene, and you know, growing up in the hospital, used to seeing, I was used to seeing codes going out, doctors and nurses working on patients and everything, but I didn't really grasp the magnitude because when you're a kid, you don't really understand at the time.
Hmm.
But actually having to do CPR on somebody for the very first time, uh, that gave me more of a, how should I say it? It gave me more of a respect for what we do. Uh, I mean, we had worked this person for 45 minutes and then ended up transporting them to the hospital where they would eventually call it. But it was a very humbling experience, especially with the medic that I had on the ambulance at that time and the EMT that I was working with and the guys on the engine that I was with.
Yeah.
They after that call, they sat me down and we actually did a small debrief because they knew that was my very first call. So it was more of a, hey, welcome to fire, welcome to EMS. Here you go. And we actually talked about it, and that actually helped out a little bit.
So when you refer to they call it, what does that mean? That I'm just saying this for our audience because I already kind of know what that is.
So when we say call it, that's when we'll call time of death, either in the field or a doctor will do it at the hospital.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that is a tough call to make. I don't think anybody wants to make that call,
No.
whether it's a doctor or in the out in the field or whatever.
Mhm.
That somebody has to deal with the family afterwards,
Yep.
and I
We can't
imagine that's
save
probably
everyone.
yeah. You can't save everyone, and it's your time. It's your time, but you
Mhm.
guys obviously do your best. You do everything you can. You run through your checklists and you do everything possible, humanly possible, to help these people that are in dire need.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you know, yeah, go ahead.
well, I mean, we've got the ACLS rundown of what can happen, but even then, medics will actually ask us, "Hey, is there anything that we can try that would possibly help the situation? And if anybody has any ideas, go ahead and speak up."
Okay.
And if nobody can come up with an idea, then they'll see if they'll call med control and talk to a doctor and, and then call it from there.
Yeah. So you've gone through all the checklists, and then basically it's after everything's gone through, that's that.
The last chance ditch effort.
I can imagine that's pretty hard. I wouldn't
It can
want to
be.
be in that situation. Uh, have you ever had a moment on a call where you felt like this is exactly where you are meant to be?
I have two calls actually.
Okay.
So when I got on the fire and everything, the first cardiac arrest that I worked, that's when I realized this is where I needed to be at that time and where I needed my life to go. When I got onto the ambulance, we had a pediatric call for difficulty breathing. We got him into the ambulance and started treating. Uh, as we get closer to the hospital, the treatments actually started working and helping the patient breathe a lot easier. By the time that we got that patient to the hospital, they were laughing, they were actually talking,
Wow.
and seeing that and seeing from how they were when we got there, not really having an easy time breathing, to now they're laughing, and they're actually talking. That's when I knew that I needed to keep going down this path.
Right. We will return after this quick ad break.
The William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation is on a mission to honor first responders and support those who serve. We provide scholarships for families who have lost a hero in the line of duty, offer second chances to juvenile offenders who are working to rebuild their future, and help new recruits pursuing careers as first responders. Through generous donations and the sale of merchandise, we're building a community that uplifts, empowers, and creates lasting impact. You can be a part of this mission as well. Visit 8158podcast.com to donate or shop today. Together, we can support those who serve, honor those we've lost, and give hope to those who need it most. Behind every badge is a story. and behind every story is a sacrifice. This is the 8158 podcast, where we honor the lives and legacies of first responders and their families. If our mission speaks to your heart, if these stories move you like they move us, join us on Patreon. For just $5 a month, you'll get ad-free listening, exclusive merchandise, behind-the-scenes content, and video episodes only available to our patrons. This isn't just a podcast, it's a movement, and you can be a part of it. Support us at patreon.com/8158podcast. Let's continue to share the stories that deserve to be heard.
Yeah, I can imagine that feeling probably made you feel so good about yourself, and not just about yourself, about, you know, made you feel like this is your calling.
Yeah.
And not very many people get their calling in this world. So um, you're one of the few. uh, Now, on the flip side, what's one of the hardest calls you've ever been on or had to walk away from? And how did you manage the emotional weight afterwards?
So this call was towards the end of shift. I was working with one of the medics that I affectionately call Mom,
Okay.
because she was one of the medics that took me in under her wing and taught me up to what I needed to know and how I could be better at my job. But this was a pediatric call that we had run. It was a parent that had co-slept with their child, and the child ended up passing away.
Mm,
We knew that when we got on scene that patient was gone. There there was nothing we could do for this patient. Rigor had already started to set in. When we got we transported that patient to the morgue, when we got off shift, I drove home, trying my hardest not to break down at that time. Got inside my house, and as soon as that door closed behind me, I just dropped. Like I couldn't hold back anymore. Uh, It's not very often that I'll cry. Um, I was I was raised old school, so you're not supposed to cry in front of people, stuff like that. But that was the first time in a long time that I broke down for that patient. Um, the days after that, it was more of trying to process of could we have done anything, or could anything have been different? What if they had called sooner? You know, all the what ifs. And when I talked to my partner about it, that's when she told me that I should stop with asking the what ifs, because the what ifs will never change anything. It's all we can do is what we have in front of us,
yeah.
what we can fix at the moment, and what we can do at that time, and then just keep going.
Um, Do you know what the COD was on the infant child?
I didn't do a follow up. I know some providers will do follow ups after calls are done, but I'm the type that if I get them to the hospital alive, or I go ahead and get them to where they need to go, I don't really check up on them afterwards. Uh, if I run into them into the field again, I'll be glad to let them tell me what happened afterwards. But that is one way that I try to keep every interaction as different as possible. That's one of the ways that I try to keep myself from going insane, basically.
So you try to compartmentalize a lot of the traumas and all the things that you see in the job.
Yeah.
I know I hear a lot of stories about peds and pediatric calls, and it always hits me, and it's always the hardest one to deal with. And I could feel it from a lot of our guests and stuff, and from you, that it is so tough to have to see that and have to deal with that. I mean, I just can't. It's hard. It's hard to think about it.
Kids shouldn't have to go through that.
Yeah,
Kids shouldn't have to go through anything like that.
it's definitely tough. I can understand the elderly patients that have lived a full life and then passed away for one reason or another, but children, they haven't even had a chance to live life.
Yeah.
And I'm not, a first responder, but I am a father, and it still affects me. My girls are in their 20s; they're doing well, but to think, that could have been them. It's hard. I couldn't even imagine.
The toughest calls that we ever run. Definitely.
Yeah. That's kind of like, the common theme of what we hear is pediatric calls are the most hardest calls to deal with.
I'd rather run 200 adult calls than one pediatric trauma, or one pediatric code, or one very sick child.
Yeah. It's definitely
Uh,
hard on the psyche.
uh, but with the job, you never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to run. It's always luck of the draw. Because as soon as you hear your unit number called or your engine called, you're never going to know what you're going to deal with.
Yeah. You just got to be prepared and ready for what comes. You were called to duty. When your number's called, you are called to duty. And I'm not just talking about
Exactly.
the video game.
I actually don't like Call of Duty.
No, you don't like Call of Duty?
No, I don't like Call of Duty.
What do you usually play Are you on console or PC? Oh, you were
I'm a
on Xbox.
console guy. Yep.
Okay, Xbox.
I play. I like the Division the most. Tom
The
Clancy's The
Division.
Division.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah. I like
And
a
if
lot of Tom Clancy stuff.
that and Ghost Recon.
Oh my gosh, you are my new best friend. Ghost Recon is my jam. Trust
Yes.
me, I am a killer on Ghost Recon. But I'm on
Breakpoint.
PS5.
Breakpoint. I've always been Overwatch.
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's pretty much what I do. Just direct everybody where they need to go and just snipe them out.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's my jam. Uh, I love Breaking Point. That's one of my favorites. Wildlands used to be, uh, but Breaking Point was kind of took over that. So love it. I love it. But I'm
Yes.
on PS5, so we're kind of on a different platform. So that
Yeah.
sucks.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I am a silent killer. I mean, if I have to get down in nitty gritty, I'll go down there and put on my silencer and start taking out the enemy,
Yep.
or just going up behind them and taking them out from behind. That kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Uh, so moving on into growth, you didn't finish medic school the first time around due to the loss of your grandmother. Is that correct?
hmm
Okay. Uh, what does going back and finishing that journey mean to you now?
Going back and finishing it now would be a sense of accomplishment for me. Um, I know there's more levels that I can get into after paramedic, like your critical care paramedics, things like that. Flight, tactical medics. But getting my paramedic would actually be a long time coming. Um, I have been wanting to get my paramedic I had gotten ever since I had gotten on the fire department, but it costs a lot of money to do so nowadays.
So, how much does it really cost to kind of get your paramedics license or certification?
So around here, if you're not working for a company that will pay for it,
Hmm.
you're looking anywhere from about $9,000 to $12,000.
Oh my gosh.
And if you're deciding to go for like a degree in emergency medicine or a paramedic, then you're looking at either an associate's or a bachelor's.
Okay. So about 90 credits or so.
Yeah,
Right.
roughly.
Uh,
And then you have to think about all the additional hours that you have to do for clinicals, because one of the schools around here, you have to do 500 hours aside from the standard 500 hours. You have to do a community service, community outreach, um, your standard your ER rotation, your OR rotation,
all right.
just to make you a better provider.
Well, that's a lot of work.
You know, the paramedic
Do not
program down
envy
here.
you.
What's that?
I do not envy you.
I think the paramedic program down here at the college is closest to me is like 14 months.
Okay.
And then
That runs about
the
14,000.
uh, one's anywhere from, because you still have to, if you're not a part of a company that's going to pay for it, you still have to buy your books. You have to buy access codes for stuff like FizzDAP, Platinum Planner. Platinum Planner itself can cost, excuse me, can cost about 150 to $200, depending on what you're getting.
Jeez.
So all of that adds up.
It's my understanding that they really don't pay you guys all that well.
Some companies do, some companies don't.
Yeah. So depending on where
Um,
you are, it could be pretty tough.
yeah, some companies will pay minimum wage. Some companies
Oh,
will pay about $30 to $40, depending on where you're at.
okay.
Um, I'm in I'm in the middle. Like right now, I'm living comfortably.
Okay. So you're about,
It,
you know, between below and living lavish.
yeah.
I mean, that's good because you're not struggling. Hopefully, I hope
Mhm.
I hope you're not struggling at all. That's better than living below average. You know, um, like myself and my fiance, we're not. We own a brand new house and stuff like that. Uh, we're not living paycheck to paycheck, but we do pay our
Mhm.
bills, and I mean, so it's pretty nice. I'm not a first responder, but I drive truck, and she works for Central Kentucky Interpreting Agency, so she gets paid very well. Me being a truck driver, I get paid pretty decent, and I'm home every day, so we're pretty comfortable. And plus, we do this stuff on the side that we don't get paid for, so we use our own money to make merch and all that stuff. So we did this to help our first responders and kind of honor my cousin. So
Yeah.
it's a good way for us to heal and to help our first responders heal and let them get their stories out. Like like you have hard stories to deal with. It helps you get those stories out, and it kind of lifts a little bit of that burden off of you a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, so moving on here, tactical EMS is a huge goal for you. What draws you to the high stakes environment of working with SWAT teams, and how are you prepared for that next chapter?
So I'm an adrenaline junkie when it comes to that kind of
Okay,
stuff. Uh, I like fast paced. I like having to think on the fly, having to react immediately to something. That's one of the things I like. That's what I like about that side of the medicine.
okay,
I like I like the low frequency high calls, the low frequency high acuity calls the most because I like being able to think on the fly instead of just okay, I know we've got to do this, but if something goes wrong, you got to improvise.
okay. That's definitely some high stakes stuff. Dealing
Oh
with
yeah,
SWAT. Yeah, those boys don't play around.
no, they don't.
Uh, so living with ADHD in this line of work, Do you feel like it gives you any unexpected strengths or challenges out in the field? Does it advance you or help you, or does it hinder you?
It actually helps me.
Okay. So how does
Um,
it help you?
so with the ADHD, I'm able to focus on more than one thing at a time. I'm able to think a little bit quicker, and I'm able to react a little bit faster to changing situations.
Okay.
So if you like, for example, the if you have a multi-systems trauma, if you don't have enough hands around to help you, you got to be able to do more than one thing at a time to help stabilize that person.
Okay.
So having ADHD helps me with that and helps me think of different things outside of the box.
So like is your body moving like your mind is? Because I know, ADHD, your mind's moving 1,000 miles a minute. So your body's reacting with your mind in that aspect, but not in that speed, obviously. But
Yeah,
okay.
like
Yeah.
honestly, it's
Yeah, go
sometimes it feels like I'm conducting a concert.
ahead. You're the conductor.
Mhm.
It's just doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard from other guests that we had another guest who was an EMS and his wife's EMS. Their son is a police officer and he has ADHD, which helps him be a better officer. And I mean, I don't understand ADHD all that well, so I couldn't understand how that makes him a better officer. Maybe it makes him think faster or kind of, like you say, multitask and try to coordinate things really quickly. And uh, I hear that a lot, and that seems to be a benefit to a lot of EMS and first responders.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
Uh,
I
I'm
mean,
pretty
a lot of
sure.
people. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure that a lot of like most of us in public safety probably have some level of ADHD.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Uh, yeah, I imagine it is definitely helps you guys quite a bit, and I hear a lot about that, and it's just amazing. And you've turned something that a lot of people see as a negative into something that is a positive. Yeah, a lot of people don't understand. Like myself, I don't understand the ADHD aspect of it, but you've turned it into something that is a negative that has helped you in a positive way, and that is amazing.
Mhm.
That's pretty awesome.
I do have to say the only one of the only downsides on the road with ADHD is the amount of caffeine I have to consume.
Oh, you got the nos. Yeah,
Yeah.
I used to drink the monsters a lot until I started eating away at my stomach, and then I just went with the monster the salted caramel coffee.
Ah. Um,
Yeah,
do you remember the BFCs,
uh,
the monster BFCs, the big cans that were like about that big around?
did they have the unscrew top, the metal
Yep.
tops on them? Yeah,
They were the original. Resealable can. Those would last me 2 hours maybe.
2 hours. Oh my gosh. Oh, jeez. Oh, geez. Yeah,
I
I can.
mean, I'll when I'm on the ambulance, I'll drink maybe 7 or 8 monsters in a shift.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep it going, or just to kind of settle your mind. Does it
Settle
counteract
my
everything?
mind.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
does the opposite of what it should do.
Mm.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that. Uh, so I'm gonna go ahead and go into our closing, and so for someone listening who may be struggling with silently with trauma or burnout, what advice would you offer based on your own experiences?
It's all right to talk about it. Um, whether it be with family, whether it be with a friend,
Uh,
coworker that you absolutely trust. It's better to talk about the things that are bothering you than letting it tear you up from the inside. I know the tough calls can tear at your soul, and sometimes you lose a little piece of yourself with it.
Yeah,
But in this day and age, we're just trying to put a little bit of the world back together as much as we can, one call at a time. So it'd be better to talk with someone you trust or even go to a therapist. There's a lot of people out there that are willing to listen. And there's always people that are going to help you.
yeah, definitely. And like I told you before, healingthehero.org, they're always willing to help.
There's also a fire and EMS hotline that people can call as well.
Okay.
I can pull up
You
that
sure?
number. All right. So the fire EMS hotline is 888-731-3473.
888-731-3473. And that's Fire EMS hotline.
Mm-hmm.
So for anybody listening into the podcast, if you're a first responder, your fire EMS, there is a hotline that can help you deal with some of your issues and your traumas. It is Fire EMS hotline at 888-731-3473.
That's a that's a resource that I actually have saved in my phone in case I need it.
Okay. And does that help you out quite a bit?
Yeah.
Now, does it calm you down, or how do they help you? Do they talk you down off the ledge,
So
or how does it work?
so it is meant for as a resource for therapy.
Okay.
So if somebody has a need to go to therapy, they can call that. That can get them set up with a therapist that's specifically for public safety.
Okay. Now, is that a free hotline, or is the therapy anonymous or anything like that, or is that through insurance or anything?
It is anonymous and I believe it is free. Last time I
Oh,
checked, it was.
okay. That's good to know because a lot of people like to keep that anonymity and the fact that they don't have to pay for it because you know how medical is in the United States. It costs an arm and a leg.
Oh yeah.
And we know you guys don't get, you're not getting rich off the job.
Nope.
And you guys deserve a lot more than what you get. But I mean, it is what it is so far. So, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So now looking back in the past, uh, if you could go back to that younger guy doing the police explorers in high school, what would you tell him now? And after everything you've seen and lived through and overcome, what would you say to that young man?
It's worth it. I have I've met some of the most amazing people doing this job, from patients to coworkers. Uh, some of my coworkers that I had up in Michigan, I still talk to this day, even though I'm about a couple states away. I still talk to them. I still keep in contact with them. When I go back up to Michigan, I plan on going to visit them too, aside
Right.
from my parents.
Well, I'm definitely glad you have that connection with these people. And, we always need to have that human connection to kind of break the monotony of a lot of the negative in the world, especially the traumas that we see. It's good to have that.
Oh yeah.
Uh, do you think it helps seeing your parents or your family having to deal with all this stuff? I mean, can you decipher the difference between the job and your personal life?
I can. But sometimes that line does get a little gray.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You can't always leave what you get out the truck.
Yeah, yeah, it's unfortunate that yeah, it's harder to leave the job at home at work and not bring it home. Uh, do you have a partner that you live with, or is it just you?
That's with my wife.
Okay, so you don't bring a lot of that stuff home to your wife to listen to.
No.
I'm sorry, I should have known that. We asked you that question before. That was kind of dumb.
I do my best to leave it, but it can't always be left.
Yeah,
There's always going to be something that will nag at you, something that will chew at you.
yeah. I couldn't imagine what you're going through, and my heart goes out to you, and I I really hope that you consider what I've said before, checking this place out, and even if not, just keep doing what you're doing to kind of get the help you need, and you know, we definitely love and appreciate what you do, and just keep it up, man. Regardless of the trials and tribulations, just keep doing you. Keep being the
Always
man
to
that helps people.
always to the best of my ability.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're an awesome guy, and I love the fact that you like playing the Ghost Recon. So you're my new best friend. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight for now. I really appreciate you coming on here. It's been an honor. I definitely appreciate the heartfelt stories and you coming on here and opening up to us and telling your stories so everybody can hear what you guys go through on a daily basis. Some people might think it's easy, some people might disregard it, but it's not. And we are hearing it firsthand. And it's not just from you. There's multiple people that we've had on here that we've heard this from firsthand. So we definitely love and appreciate what you guys do. And we support you 100%.
I appreciate that. And I appreciate you for having me come onto the show.
You're definitely very welcome. And it's been an honor for us. And hopefully, we'll get you back on here in the future. I don't know how long it's going to take you to get into the high risk SWATs type of work that you're trying to get into, but I would like to hear about that, and I would like to see you succeed.
Maybe once I get to that point, I'll give you an update.
We'll be waiting for you, and then we'll have you back on here so we can talk about it some more. How's that
Sounds
sound?
good to me.
All right, brother. You have a wonderful night. Love you, guy. Have a good one. Tell your wife we said hello from 8158 Podcast, and be safe out there.
Will do.
All righty, buddy. Good night, bud.
Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us on 8158 Stories of Sacrifice. Every story we share is a tribute to the courage and resilience of first responders and their families. If this episode impacted, encouraged, or inspired you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who supports first responders. Follow us on all social media platforms at 8158 Podcast for updates. 8158 Stories of Sacrifice is a team effort. Rico brings the stories to life through casting, writing, original music, and editing. Brianne Shipley as production manager, handling booking, social media, graphics, promotion, marketing, website management, and logo design. Please visit our website at 8158podcast.com. For questions, collaborations, or to share your story, our email address is contactus@8158podcast.com. Until next time, let's continue to honor the legacies and remember the sacrifices of those who serve, every brave man and woman on the front lines, protecting and defending us all. This is Rico signing off and honoring 8158.